Evening, Terry. Ian Beckles. Ian Beckles. We gotta get Chris or Ponzo to look in the change
Yeah,
your name.
yeah. Why is it? I don't know, dude. At least my phone is the right way, though.
Hey, you're off center though. You got to move over a little bit. Move
Yeah,
over.
let's. Hey, baby steps, my friend. Let's not mess with too much right now. You know what I'm saying? Let's not do all
Oh
that.
man. So it was good to hang out with you yesterday, watching these games. Let's start with the first game. I think one of the big takeaways from the Eagles Commanders game, we kind of just looked at each other when it was close to the end. We go, Philadelphia's just really good, right? And I feel like because of how season ended last year, and everybody was kind of waiting for them to fail again. But Ian, they're in the Super Bowl, and you and I talk about it a lot. It's like they're strong in the trenches. They got good players on the outside. Like this is a really good football team, and it's kind of weird that it took for them to get to the Super Bowl for a lot of people to acknowledge it.
Well, what you said about the Buffalo Bills and bizarre world is the Philadelphia Eagles. If you have 2 yards to go, they get those 2 yards. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there ain't nothing you can do about it. They're going to tell you what they're going to run it in your face, and at the end of it, they're going to get a first down or a touchdown. Um, the Eagles are really good up front on both sides of the ball, dude. I mean, really, really good. The Carter, he made a couple moves yesterday. We were watching the game with Tony Mayberry. I saw him lined up on the center and make a move on the guard and club the guard and beat the guard outside on his edge. And I said, I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. So they have some special players, and they don't turn the ball over. It kind of, that's what it comes down to. Washington didn't play that poorly. I didn't think they were outmanned. But when you put the ball on the ground 3 times on the road, you're never going to win a championship game, never. And some of it, is, if you're a Washington fan right now, you're like, damn, we fumbled, but those were great plays by Eagles. That the peanut punch is a new thing in the NFL. It's like a new, and the Eagles do it really well. They did it a good 2 times in that game, so they practice it all the time. So that's the reason. That's why they win.
And Jalen Hurts to be able to run the football, I was just mentioning before you hopped on with Saquon Barkley. Ian, I don't know if any non-quarterback has ever had a legacy-defining season like Saquon Barkley. He's not going to change how teams address the running back position. The guys they're not going to go out there and go, let's go pay this 28, 29, 30-year-old. It's not that aspect of it. But when you watch what Saquon is doing, it just makes you marvel at how athletically gifted and talented this guy is. I know you've been high on him for a while, but to be able to watch him join up a team that puts such an onus on running the football and being strong with the trenches and the season that he's had, not just the postseason, but the regular season. Like this is, if they win the Super Bowl, and let's say he wins the MVP, this may go down as one of the greatest seasons that we've ever seen from an individual player in NFL history.
Well, I don't think the NFL is going through a metamorphosis by any state of their mind. But if you look back to the Super Bowl, how many of the in the last 30 years Super Bowls were won by running the football, by running backs? I would have to go all the way back to Terrell Davis. I mean,
Right.
really, all the rest of it seems to be won by quarterbacks. If Philadelphia wins, they're going to win through Saquon Barkley, and I believe Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley are both Hall of Fame running backs. But here's the thing: and I've said this to you many times, and a lot of people out there. If you're not a Hall of Fame running back, you're just a dime a dozen. Very few running backs tote the pill for 3 straight years, and if you do, you probably end up going into the Hall of Fame. Saquon Barkley did this, then he did this, and now the trajectory, I don't know where it's going, but I didn't know he was this good. I knew he was good, and I knew he was tough, and I think he's a different running back than he was early in his career. He was more of a bruiser. Now he make a catch miss and go 60 with it. And watching that first run, everybody was impressed by Saquon Barkley. Go back and watch it. He gets touched once, and he doesn't get touched till he's 12 yards down the field. That's not. I mean, he is great, but that's
Mhm.
O line play. And if the Eagles win, it's gonna be because their O line is so damn good. Their center being hurt may be a big deal. Number 51 who went in there wasn't quite the same, but the Eagles are really good on both sides of the ball.
What does that tell you when a guy like Mekhi Becton, high draft pick, I mean, a left tackle drafted by the Jets, they could have had Tristan Wirfs. They picked Mekhi Becton instead. He slides inside the guard and he's just absolutely mauling people. When you watch the Philadelphia offensive line, what are those guys coached up to do that's so different than other players and other lines in the league where, regardless of who it is, I mean, Ian, Jason Peters isn't there anymore. Jason Kelsey's not there anymore. Like, they're able to just cycle guys in. Take a guy like Jordan Mailata, who's a freaking rugby player.
Yeah.
Now he's one of the best tackles in all of football. Like, what do you see from them that makes you go, they're being taught the right way, and that leads ultimately to their success?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Jay. Some things aren't rocket science. Really, some of it isn't, okay? I played the same position as Mekhi Becton, okay? If Mekhi Becton walked in the same room as me, we wouldn't look like the same animal, right? He makes that right guard position look very, very easy with his lengths, and he's just so big he can't get around. I mean, I held my own, but to be 6'7", 350 makes things a little bit easier. So the Eagles have found four monsters that are wonderful athletes and have good feet. So whoever's evaluating their trench play needs to be applauded. Now, you know what? Jason Light needs to be applauded too while we're into that. You know, Jason Light's done a pretty damn good job of putting this offensive line together with some high draft picks, some not so high draft picks, some free agents, guys moving positions. And I thought our offensive line was as good as can be this year, but that Philadelphia Eagle offensive line, it's just a good line, bro. I mean, everybody wants to put on Jalen Hurts and Saquon, but that offensive line makes their job real easy.
Let's talk about the other game, Chiefs and Bills. And man, you got to feel for Josh Allen and Bills Mafia today. They're so close. Once again, they lose by 3 points. The difference in that game was what, Ian?
The difference in that game, I think, is a little bit of a confidence thing. One team is confident at the end of the game, and one team is hoping they get it done. Because every time the Bills and Kansas City play, it ends the same damn way.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way. I mean, at the end of the game, everybody's going to hope that Josh Allen gets it done.
Right.
At the end of the game, they know Mahomes is going to get it done. Why? Because he's done it every single time. So when you have Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or John Elway or Joe Montana on your side, and on the last drive of the game, Joe Montana goes, "Hey, there's John Candy." I mean, there's in the other end of the spectrum. We heard of Donovan McNabb throwing up in the huddle. Okay, the moment could be too much for you. Josh Allen is a superstar. All right, I didn't think he threw the ball that well yesterday. He's a superstar. But Mahomes makes the throws. Josh Allen missed a couple throws. And as a whole, their offensive line got overpowered by a much bigger defensive line. And I said to everybody, if you bet against Kansas City, you're crazy. And then I bet against Kansas City and lost money.
Oh,
By the way.
boy.
But I couldn't listen to my own words. But if anybody can beat this Kansas City team, it's the way Philadelphia is built. That being said, I'm not sure which way I'm going yet.
And why do you say that?
Well, the only way to beat Kansas City is not get into a knockout, drag out, shootout. Is to bludgeon them and soften them up, okay? Chris Jones, if you have to throw the ball all game long, Chris Jones is a problem. If you can run the ball on Chris Jones, he doesn't want to play the run. He doesn't want to. He does, but he doesn't want to. This Eagle front, when you have Mekhi Becton leaning on you, it's sometimes everybody thinks it's about, oh, we had 200 yards rushing. Nope. If you got 40 rushes, that defensive front slows their ass down. The pass rush is not there anymore. They're sitting down and they're hunkering down for a run. It slows everything down. So sometimes it's the ability to be able to keep on running the ball. And if you look at the statistics, and I never looked at that, I'm sure that you can find it somewhere. If a team rushes the ball 30 times, I bet they win 80% of the time. You should look that up.
So do you think it's more of the offense of what they can do or what the defense can do against Patrick Mahomes, slowing him down? Because as much as we look at that side of the ball, being able to run the football, I think part of the defense is keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field. But you gave us what the Philadelphia offense would have to do. But what would the Philadelphia defense have to do to be able to combat what Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs do so well in such a high-profile game? Because we remember the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, it was a shootout. Jalen Hurts played fantastic, but the Eagles could not slow down Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense.
Sure, not too far from here. The Buccaneers came up with a template to really thwart Mr. Mahomes for the only time in the history of his short career, And once again, not rocket science. You got to get after the cat, man. You got to make him uncomfortable. The Buccaneers won that game from their defensive line. Um, if you go back and watch the game, and I've rewatched that game, that Super Bowl game, it's not close. Patrick Mahomes is by far the best football player on that field. It's not close. He was Superman. He made some plays and he just wasn't bailed out by a lot of his receivers. Yesterday, Josh Allen could have been bailed out by McCall. I heard you talking about Kincaid. I mean, those kind of things can bail you out of some situations. And it's about teams making plays. And I don't want to hear about referees. I don't want to do it. That talk to me is old. And everybody who loses can complain about two plays. Every single team. So I don't want to hear about it. Kansas City wins because Kansas City makes plays at the end and they have Patrick Mahomes. That's why they win.
Yeah, and we also saw one play yesterday where Kansas City got screwed on a call in that false start play when you were like, I think the defensive player moved first. And then when they showed the replay, it was a classic, neutral zone infraction where the offensive lineman jumped and they called it on Kansas City.
Sure.
But nobody talks about that the day after.
Well, the long and short of it is that, they're talking about the fourth and one, I believe, where they look like they got it,
Right.
they didn't have it, and obviously the reception where the ball touched the ground. Well, those were terrible. You know how many other plays there were? I mean, there's so many other plays, and as somebody who's done it before, coaches reiterate the fact that the next play can be that play. It could be the first play of the game. Look what happened with Philadelphia, first play of the game. You could say, well, what happens in the fourth? What about the first play? If the first play you let a guy get 70 yards for a touchdown, boy, it's tough sledding from there. So you never know which is the most important play. And I just don't want to hear belly aching about referees and all that kind of stuff because I don't believe in it.
I'm with you. I want to ask you about Liam Cohen with his reverse because when we spoke last week, it looked like all signs pointed to Liam Cohen returning. And then the whole saga happens last week where, he goes ghost on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and he winds up boom. And I know his press conference is a little bit later on today, but just what's your whole take on the Liam Cohen situation with him telling the Buccaneers, all right, yeah, I'm in, give me this contract. All right, thanks. I'll sign it. Oh, wait, I won't going to be there. I'll be there tomorrow. Hey, Todd, I got to talk to Jacksonville when he's already in Jacksonville. Like what's your whole take on this situation with Liam Cohen?
Well, I have absolutely no problem with it. I don't. I mean, I saw the way it was happening. I don't know if there was any way for Liam Cohen to have made it any other way, okay? Because if you're dating a girl and your ex, who's a dime piece, is trying to come back, it's going to be hard to kind of have that buffer of that. If you want to get back with the dime piece, but if she doesn't come back, you're going back to this one. There's no buffer in the middle. There's no way you can still court your other team, but still try to. Because if he said to the Buccaneers, well, I'm your offensive coordinator, but I'm about to head to Jacksonville. He can't say that. They're going to say, "Screw you, don't come back." And then if you go to Jacksonville and it doesn't work, then what happens? To me, he got a raise. He fulfilled his lifetime dream. I don't care how they do it. I like to compare it to Live Golf, and how they crucified all those golfers, and then 2 months later they're laid up in bed with all the Saudis. Listen, money talks. Power talks. And if Liam Cohen went one time to Jacksonville and they had some schlep GM there, and then they said, well, we fired him. You could come bring your own GM. Man, you're never going to get that situation again. So to me, I say congratulations to Liam Cohen. If you're a Buccaneer fan, you may not have liked the way the whole thing transpired, but nobody sits around with all your decisions and evaluates all your, decisions. So I'm happy for Liam Cohen.
Does it have any kind of impact on what goes on in Jacksonville as far as lack of leadership, lack of trust? Like, did the players look at him side eye? Because I think that's one of the things you and I were having a discussion with last week when it came to Todd Bowles of all these people that were saying, look, get rid of Todd Bowles. Yeah. One thing that about Todd is he's got a steady hand. He's solid as a rock. His word is his bond. And whether you agree or disagree or whether you have no problem with it, like Liam Cohen did kind of ghost the Buccaneers a little bit, right? So, I mean, if you're a player and let's say they start the season 1-3, Ian, and Liam Cohen starts giving a different message than when he did when he started. That's one thing. You may not like Bowles as a play caller or, game manager, but that dude's message is as consistent as they come. He's steady Eddie. What happens if the Jaguars go 1-3, 1-4, and then this guy changes his tune? Do people then look back at the situation and go, maybe we should have looked at him, a little side eye action, really not as a guy that's, trustworthy?
I don't think I can speak for myself, and I was in quite a few locker rooms. Players don't get into politics, dude. It just doesn't work that way. What your coach comes in, you sit up there, you listen what the coach has to say, and then the next week listen what the coach has to say. And like you said, there has to be some consistency to it.
But that's the
And as
point.
long,
That's my point, though, because
mm-hmm,
you've told me before about
yep,
a certain offensive line coach that you've
yeah,
had and other
yeah,
coaches that you had where
mm-hmm,
they were giving you one message and then
yeah,
all of a sudden it changed. And
correct.
your perception of them changed. And I don't know if it's a lack of trust or a lack of respect that you lost.
Mm-hmm,
My whole thing is that if that happens with Liam Cohen, there's no underbelly of like, at least we know he's a good guy. At least we know that he's consistent. At
mm-hmm.
least we know that he's dedicated and his word is strong. I think that's something that may be, I don't know if it's a politic thing, but I think that could be a possibility, or at least imagine you're a leader on that team. You're a
Mm-hmm.
guy that's been around the league 7-8 years. Hey, Doug Peterson, he got fired, but at least I knew what Dougie was all about. And then here comes this 39-year-old telling you the greatest thing since sliced bread, and all of a sudden, like, he's going against his word in week 5. I mean, that could be that could have a negative impact on the locker room, no?
I disagree. I mean, to
Okay.
me, I just don't think people ever get into that. Like, I never dug up the history of any of my head coaches. I knew of Sam White. I knew of them a little bit. I never dug up Tony Dungy. I didn't dig up Sam White. I walked in the locker room, and the way they treated me is the way I treated them back. Like, I've had people, and Jay, I've had people before go, that guy's a bad person. And then I meet him, and he's the realest person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've had the media tell me that guy's a great person, and I meet him and he's the fakest person in the world. So I have to evaluate it by myself. I think most football players are that way, but I would be shocked if anybody in Jacksonville's locker room is looking at what Liam Coen said and questioned anything. Liam Cohen's just doing business for making money, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know how many times organizations screw players? They do. It happens all the time. And we have one situation where an organization, the Buccaneers, unfortunately, got the short end of it, and they're not going to be as good because Liam Cohen's not coming back, and I understand that. But everybody's just butthurt. If I'm gonna say this, if the and it's probably happened before, if the Buccaneers acquired a coach this way, not one Buck fan would care about it. You'd just be happy to get a good coach. So I think that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how a lot of those people that were saying that the Buccaneers should get rid of Todd Bowles for Liam Cohen are now so upset
Right?
a week later.
It's hard to
Uh,
make them unless you win a Super Bowl. Everybody's upset.
what is your take on the tush push? Because people are talking about how they should outlaw it, they should get rid of it. It's not fair. I mean, I hate to see Philadelphia do it because I know they're going to get it. But then you look at these other teams do it, Ian, and they can't do it. So it's like, how can you penalize? Everybody else has a right to do it. They just can't execute it. So I don't know how they outlaw this thing. I mean, Philadelphia just does it right.
Listen, we should say, well, Buffalo, your quarterback's not allowed to run from the shotgun. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It's a legal play that's been around forever. They just perfected it. And I watched the game with Tony Mayberry, and Tony hates it. When I mean hate, Tony, every time it happens, Tony's like, that's shortening careers. And I never thought about it.
Oh,
But as a
okay.
center, you're absorbing it all, and people are pushing on your back, and people are pushing on your, so you're just basically shortening your spine. And I think that takes a lot out of Jalen Hurts as well. If you watched the college game the other day, was it Georgia on the first drive? The quarterback went down and scored, and he scored. And right away, I go, that might be the last touchdown they score. And somebody
Notre
goes, why?
Dame.
I go,
Notre Dame?
Notre Dame. Yes, Notre
Yeah.
Dame. Somebody goes, why? I go, did you see how much effort that guy used
Mhm.
in that drive? He's pumping his legs and he's driving people. Nobody's in that good a shape. And I think that wears him out a little bit. And I think that might wear him out later in the season. Now, it's going to be hard not to call it when you're on the 1 yard line, because when you turn and hand off the ball, bad things can happen. So if you have that in your back pocket, you got to bring that out every damn time. I don't think they're going to stop. Everybody can do it, but I don't know if they can teach it, because Philadelphia does it different.
Why do you think they can do it and nobody else can?
They've just figured it out. Tom Brady was probably the best at doing it himself, but it
Mhm.
wasn't really a line thing. It was more of his technique. This is a line technique, and I see Buffalo do it. They don't have people in the back pushing. Philadelphia just has it, bro. It's just, and when everybody knows what you're doing and it's a sneak, it's usually hard to get a half a yard. Philadelphia gets 4 yards sometimes. Like, I see the center 3 yards off the line of scrimmage and the quarterback's on top of him. I go, I don't know how they did it, but they somehow created an air tunnel or something, and they get through it, and it works. I think the only team that had a lot of success against it was the Buccaneers, and that's probably because of Vita Vea.
Yeah, and you saw Frankie Louvu trying to jump over the line of scrimmage doing the
Yeah, 10
Superman thing.
times. Too many.
you
Too many.
gotta try.
Come on,
You gotta do something though, right? You can't
Yeah,
just
you're
sit
right.
there and take it.
You're right.
So, did you see the line today with the who opened up as the favorites?
I believe Philadelphia's favorite.
No, we had this
No.
conversation last night.
Really? Who's the favorite?
Chiefs open up
two?
1.5.
Okay.
We were going back and forth about it. I said 2.5 Chiefs. 1.5.
Move. I think it'll move down.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll move to 1 because I think Philadelphia people are going to jump all over that. I can see that.
Easy money. You think it'll be even money by the time the game starts?
It's a possibility, man. But listen, it's a coin toss, just like I saw Buffalo, Kansas City. It could go either way. But I did say at the end, boy, to bet against Kansas City at home that's tough sledding, man.
We're going to talk a lot more about it next week. The line ticked up to a consensus Chief -2, 30 minutes after opening Sunday night.
Okay.
So 2 to now 1.5. I didn't know the Chiefs were the underdogs the last 2 Super Bowls. I didn't know that.
I don't think I was aware of that either.
I don't know. What are you guys going to be doing for the Super Bowl?
We always have people here, and I'll be honest with you, Jay. Kava and Kratom and sports don't really mix. So we can tell our people all day long with the football game. They don't know what game it is, and sometimes we have people come in with like Saints jerseys on. I'm going, "Are you a Saints fan?" Yeah. I go, "Do you know they're playing right now?" And they're like, "Oh no, I didn't know." And they're on TV. And they're on TV playing the Bucks. And the guy's a Saints shirt on. He doesn't know the Bucks. They're playing the Bucks. So
who's your favorite player?
Kava fans are not the biggest sports fans in the world.
Not the crossover, huh?
No, it's not big. No, it doesn't. They don't go together.
How'd you get into kava? I know somebody was asking me that the other day.
Well, when I stopped drinking alcohol about 3.5 years ago, and everybody needs vices, I guess, or just something to keep you busy. So somebody introduced me to kava and kratom, and it doesn't get you drunk, but you get a little euphoric feeling from it, and it's been kava and kratom ever since. I don't send out any dumb texts, and I don't do dumb things. And I just had this conversation today. Most people have never done anything dumb sober. So I don't do dumb things anymore because I drink kava and kratom.
What's your favorite kind of kratom?
I'm a red guy. The red kratom is kind of a calming thing, kind of like a marijuana thing. I totally lean towards the marijuana things, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I hear that. How's things going with Calta and everybody?
Everybody's good, man. I mean, that's a funny family I have over there. Monica, I did the show with JP. Actually, I was on Mike's show this morning. And then I did about a half hour JP's show with Monica, who is by far the biggest Bills fan I've ever met in my life. And Jay, I feel for her, bro, because she's hurting, man. Like, I mean, when I mean hurting for real, though, like I look in her eyes and she's just like, you can't even joke about it. It's not funny to her. We had a conversation before the playoffs, and she goes, "Well, all my Bills got to do is make it because there's no way they would lose the 5th one." And I said, "Boy, that's 30 years after they lost 4 in a row." I go, "There's really no way they could lose 4 in a row," and they did that. So you have to watch your mouth. But unfortunately, they didn't get there, and she's just not in a good place at all.
You tell her to go look up Jerry West's career. How many times did he lose to the Celtics before winning? I think he lost I want to say he lost 7 times before he
really
something like that. I got to look it up, but tell her to look up Jerry West's career. Real quick, I want to show you this before you go. Big sports fan, kratom fan, been sober 2 years. Shane Tucker. So good job for you, Shane.
Congratulations, brother.
Go check them out. 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard, the Dignitary Tea and Kava House. Ian and I will have the Beckles and Recher podcast around 3:30 on Wednesday, and let everybody know what is going on within the trenches.
Well, I'm flipping the script a little bit with In the Trenches since it's the off season, and I want to talk about free agency, forever. This stupid stuff. There's not much happening right now, so I'm gonna kind of flip it a little bit to a where are they now type of thing with former Buccaneers. My first could be Martin Gramatica. I consider Martin a friend. I've known Martin. I know you've hung around Martin before. Just good people, nice dude, and I'm gonna start interviewing people and just pick their brain a little bit. I don't know that much about. I know Martine a little bit. I want to learn a little bit about the inside of Martine and what makes him tick. Tony Mayberry said he would do it. Mark Royals.
No.
Oh, hey, who else can get
Wow.
Tony Mayberry behind the microphone? Good luck with that.
I can't believe that.
Right? It's crazy.
Jerry West was 1-8 in the NBA Finals. He lost his first 6 NBA Finals to the Celtics, 2 more to the Knicks. 1-8.
He's like Susan Lucci.
You got that right, man.
Mhm.
Susan Lucci. There, that's what happens. We start talking about soap operas like we
Right.
did yesterday. All My Children, General Hospital. The great
Yeah,
Ian Beckles. Follow him on all social media platforms. Beck, I appreciate it. See you on Wednesday, buddy.
One love, kid.
All right.